There's a point where you stop looking at specs and just ask a simple question. Does this actually feel good to use every day? And that's exactly where this watch surprised me. At around 1,000 Philippine peso, Mibro C4 smartwatch stands out as one of the best budget-friendly smartwatches for anyone seeking speed, functionality, and a lightweight design, all at a price that's accessible to almost everyone. Sure, there are areas where it could improve, but those are easy to overlook when what you really need is a smartwatch that's fast, reliable, and fits seamlessly into any lifestyle. My name is Renzo, welcome to the channel. Get subscribed for interesting tech, and if you like the product after this video, I have a link below. Now, here's the thing. I've used a lot of affordable smartwatches, and most of them follow the same pattern. They look decent, they have the features you expect, but the moment you start using them, something feels off. The animations feel delayed, scrolling feels choppy, opening menus takes just a bit too long. Not enough to call it broken, but enough to make it feel cheap. And this is where the Mibro C4 immediately feels different. The speed you actually feel. Let's start with what I think is the best part of this watch: performance. And I'm not talking about specs here because realistically, brands don't even highlight chipsets in this price range. What matters is how it feels. In real use, this watch feels fast. Scrolling through menus is smooth, swiping between pages feels responsive, even opening apps feels immediate. And a big part of that comes from something most people overlook: the 60Hz display. Now, compared to some budget watches that are still stuck at 30Hz, the difference is noticeable. Not in a spec sheet kind of way, but in a this feels better kind of way. Because when you're interacting with a small screen on your wrist, every swipe matters, every animation matters. And when those animations are smooth, the entire experience feels more premium than it actually is. Some watches prioritize battery life by lowering the refresh rate, which is understandable, but the trade-off is that slightly laggy feel that you can't really ignore once you notice it. The C4 doesn't feel like that, and this is one of those things where once you experience it, it's hard to go back. Now, the second thing that stood out to me is something I didn't expect to care about as much: the weight. This watch only weighs around 29 grams, and on paper, that might not sound like a big deal. But in real life, it changes how you use it, because most of the time, the best wearable is the one you forget you're wearing. And this one, you barely notice it. Despite having a fairly large 2.01-inch display and a bit on the bulky design, it doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't dig into your wrist when you're typing, working, or even sleeping. I've been using the silver model, and it has this clean, minimal look that doesn't try too hard. It just looks right for the price. There's also a gray option in more colorful bands if you want something a bit more expressive, although depending on where you buy it, you might not always get to choose the exact band color. But for me, the silver one works. It's simple, it's clean, and it blends well whether you're wearing something casual or slightly more formal. Now this is where things get a bit more interesting: calling. Because usually at this price, this feature exists, but it's not something you would actually want to use. Either the speaker sounds too tinny, or the mic struggles to pick up your voice clearly. But with the Mibro C4, I was actually surprised. The speaker is tuned more for clarity rather than loudness, so instead of sounding harsh or distorted, voices come through clean. It's not the loudest speaker out there, and I wouldn't use it for listening to podcasts or media. But for calls, it gets the job done. And more importantly, it sounds natural. The mic is also solid, it picks up your voice clearly without aggressive noise suppression or weird processing. Yes, it captures ambient noise as well, but your voice still comes through clean without clipping. So if you're taking quick calls while your phone is in your bag, charging, or just out of reach, this is actually usable. And that's something I don't usually say for watches in this price range. Now let's talk about battery, because this is another area where expectations are usually low for budget devices. But this one does pretty well. The Mibro C4 is rated for up to 10 days of regular use and up to 45 days in power saving mode. But what matters more is real-world usage. In my case, I did not hold back. I had 24-hour heart rate monitoring turned on, blood oxygen detection, stress tracking, automatic workout detection, nap monitoring, stand reminders, basically everything. And even with that kind of heavy usage, I was consistently getting around 5 to 7 days, and considering this is an LCD display, and which for me is already more than enough, because it means you're not thinking about charging it every day or every other day. You just use it, and when it eventually needs charging, it doesn't feel like a chore. Now here's where the experience extends beyond the watch itself: the companion app. Using the Mibro Fit app, you actually get a decent set of features that make the watch more useful in daily life. You can enable continuous heart rate monitoring and even set alerts if your heart rate goes too high or too low. You can ping the watch if you lose it somewhere at home. You can add up to 20 quick contacts for easy access directly on the watch. And while there's no full keyboard here, so you can type replies, but you do get quick message replies, which is still useful when you just need to respond quickly. There's also a menstrual cycle tracker, which allows users to log symptoms and mood to get more accurate predictions over time. And if you're into fitness, you can sync your data with platforms like Google Fit, Strava, and Runalyze. It supports over 100 sports modes, although like most watches in this category, you'll still need to start workouts through the app in some cases. Is it perfect? No. But for the price, it's more than enough to cover what most people actually use. Now this is where we shift gears a bit, because while the experience is good overall, there are still areas where you can clearly see where the compromises were made. So let's start with the display again. Yes, it's smooth thanks to the 60Hz refresh rate, but brightness could be better. Outdoors, especially under direct sunlight, it's not the easiest to see. It's still readable, but you'll notice the difference compared to brighter panels. Sharpness is also just okay. If you look closely, you can see some pixelation in text and graphics. Colors are not the most vibrant either. It's not bad, but it's not something you would call impressive. The good thing is that there are a lot of watch faces available, and some of them do a good job of making the display look better than it actually is. So with the right watch face, you can kind of work around those limitations. Now, in terms of design, while the lightweight build is a huge advantage, it does come with a trade-off. The zinc alloy bezel doesn't really elevate the look, and you can tell this is still a budget watch. It's not a deal breaker, but it's something you notice. Also, the crown, or at least what looks like a crown, because while it looks like one, it doesn't function like one. You can't rotate it to scroll through menus or navigate an interface, so it's basically just a button. And this is one of those small things that could have made a big difference in usability, because having a functional rotating crown would have made navigation feel even more natural. Now here's where everything comes together, because at this point you might be thinking, okay, it's fast, it's lightweight, it has good battery life, but it's not perfect, and that's true. But I think the real value of the Mibro C4 isn't in trying to compete with more expensive watches, it's in understanding what actually matters at this price. Because when you're buying a smartwatch, you're not expecting perfection, you're expecting something that works, something that doesn't frustrate you, something that fits into your daily routine without getting in the way. And this is where the C4 gets it right. It focuses on the experience. The speed makes it enjoyable to use, the lightweight design makes it comfortable to wear all day, and the battery life makes it reliable. And the features, while not groundbreaking, are practical. And this leads to a realization that I did not expect going into this. A lot of affordable smartwatches fail not because they lack features, but because they don't feel good to use. They try to do everything, but they forgot the basics. The Mibro C4 does the opposite. It gets the basics right first, and everything else just builds on top of that. So at the end of the day, is this the best smartwatch out there? Of course not. But that's not the point. The real question is this one of the best affordable smartwatches you can get right now? And for me, the answer is yes. Because it delivers where it matters. And sometimes, that's all you really need. Give it a try, the links are below. But that's it for this one. Drop a sub or like if you feel like supporting the channel. As always, until the next one, stay safe.